So when I work with executive clients, you normally have a chemistry test. So I guess the first thing you should do when you meet a client, but even before a client really selects a coach, there should be some kind of chemistry session. It really is good practice that if you do get access to coaching, you shouldn't just be given a coach. You should have some say in who your coach is. And most organisations will give you some options, and you'll probably meet 2, maybe 3 coaches. You might just get access to a video like this. And the idea is then is you get a sort of intuitive sense of who is the person that might most be helpful. And that could be about fit and could be about similarity, or it could be actually this person might add an extra dimension or level of challenge. But you basically get to choose your coach. And what I find is if I am selected, in those first few sessions, there's some contracting that you'll do. So you'll talk about how we're going to run these sessions, what do we expect from each other. So that's just good contracting. But also I like to spend a bit of time looking at the motivation, because it is not uncommon for people to be given access to a coach and not really fully buy into, well, why am I being given a coach? What do I need a coach for? In extreme circumstances, maybe there is some behaviours that are negative and derailing, and the company said, look, we need to get this person some coaching, otherwise there's going to be a problem. So it's really important, I think, to explore with the client what is their motivation around coaching. So I tend to ask a series of questions, varies, but typically it's around things like, okay, how much better do you believe you could be? What's the level of performance that you could attain? And most leaders, even people who are really sort of egotistical, would find it difficult to say, yeah, there's not some extra fuel in the tank. There's not an extra level of performance I might get to. There's not something I couldn't improve somewhere in my life. So most leaders will buy into the concept that if only they had the time or the focus or the energy, they could be better at something. So assuming that's sort of agreed, then the next question I'll tend to ask is, okay, well what would be the benefit? Who benefits from that growth or that performance? Who's being impacted? And that's really interesting often, because that often explores then not only the win for the client, and the clients can often talk about what they would get, but then they often reflect what maybe their partners might get, or their family, or the community, or indeed their work colleagues. So that generally starts to solidify a little bit in their mind, okay, there's an opportunity, there's clearly some work we need to do to achieve that. It's not so it's just going to be given to me, this performance improvement, I'm going to have to work for it. But what might the benefits be? And sometimes I ask the question, and what's the risk if you don't do this? I mean, because sometimes it's not just about the benefit, it's what is the detrimental impact of not making a change. So I ask them to look at the positive, but also ask them to look at the consequences sometimes of not changing, especially if it's something where they're being prevented from moving forward, say, in their career. So if it's around unlocking some of their career growth, or maybe they've had some negative sort of feedback, there's often a negative consequence, and it's important that the client sort of understands the aggregated risk of not changing versus the positives of changing. Then the last question I tend to ask is, well, where should we begin? Because it's very important the client, drives the agenda. And 99 times out of 100, my experience is the client knows exactly where to begin. They are the person in the driving seat. As a coach, we're sitting alongside them in the vehicle. We might be holding the map for them, but they're the ones who are navigating. They're the ones that are driving the vehicle. We're there to support them. So I always ask the clients to ask, where shall we start? And my job then is to help them, I suppose, frame their thoughts, clarify their thoughts, so we can establish a clear route and a clear plan together. Hope that helps.